I love AI, but I was always reluctant on looking what's really the problem that you can solve with it. So now I think we have a very good point talking agentic AI, that we connect and use our system in a bigger scale of things, which I'll be very happy to show more and tease more than when it's time for the SLA.
That was Florian Tauchert, CEO of Xavo, an innovative AI-powered sample management SaaS platform. Whether you're tracking storage contents, managing orders and barcodes, or orchestrating a fully automated lab with Xavo Enterprise, Xavo helps labs to integrate, automate, and innovate at every step. Welcome to the Biotech Stack, where we explore the cutting-edge technology fueling the future of life sciences and biotech. From next-generation lab automation and AI-driven drug discovery to breakthrough biomanufacturing and research tools, we dive deep into the innovations shaping the next wave of blockbuster medicines and the businesses behind them. I'm Corinne Regan, your host. In today's episode of the Biotech Stack, we talk to Florian Tauchert, CEO of Xavo. We discuss his journey from software developer to the CEO of Xavo. We chat about the ways Xavo supports labs to optimize lab operations today and into the future. Let's get started. And Florian, thank you for joining us today. We are going to hop right into some questions about yourself and Xavo. So if you could please introduce yourself, tell us a bit about your background, and we'd love to hear about how you became the CEO of Xavo.
Yeah, very happy to. So hi, everybody. I'm Florian. I'm the CEO of Xavo. I've started my career as a software architect, actually. So I did my bachelor at software engineer or software developer. Then I did my master's as a master of software engineer. And there, after my master, I started at Xavo and started as a consultant, as an IT consultant, developer. Then got myself my first IT project where I was then the technical project lead. And over time, I'm good talking with people. And so I got into a project lead, into a later then head of operations. And sooner or later, I was more and more focused on more solution design. So I was involved in every project that we got with customers in the life science aspect. So since our first projects we had with large pharma 10 years ago, I was always involved in one way or another. And over time, I was getting higher in the ranks of interacting with management. And then in around 2023, we had a change in management. There, basically, a new investor came in, interested in the company, and so he's changed the management level, and first gave me the role of the VP of engineering, got myself also the managing director behind the scenes, and then he also gave me the opportunity to become the CEO of the company. So
that's wonderful. So tell me a little bit more about Xavo, the company itself. What is the focus? What are the problems you're trying to solve for your customers?
So we are mainly focused on, or exclusively focused on, life science customers. So everything about life science R&D processes. And there, starting many years ago, we worked first on specific customer projects, and then we identified over time a continuous repeatable problem that we see in the field, which is, there are several, but one of the main things that we focused on is the hidden knowledge problem. So there is know-how in companies how to get things done, like how to fulfill orders, how to run equipment, how to drive your processes in the lab continuously, repeatably. And this knowledge is inside of a few people's head. And when they go, or when they get promoted, or when they are sick or leave, then basically the lab either comes to a halt, or at least something gets worse. So our idea was, how can software help it? And so we started not by just creating the next product that does the same thing like all the others, having an inventory and you do some things and retrospectively type what you did, but a system that really supports people going through their daily life. So there, the idea was that we try to have an out-of-the-box functionality of the product, so knowing what the market needs, but also having it configurable. That means that when a certain customer needs a specific kind of process enabled in the product, we can add that on the core functionality and basically help that all the processes are going, no matter who's now available, no matter how big or small the throughput is. You can always have the same processes applied again and again, and you don't need to care about any details like integration aspects, work lists, or anything, because the system can proactively support you doing that.
So is this product in the life sciences market exclusively? Are there other markets that you support? And then at what point of the workflow do you support? Is this more of an R&D drug discovery? Are we into preclinical, clinical? Where do you find Xavo in the lab?
Mhm. So first, talking about the different areas or customers that we're tackling, it's really on the life science aspect so far, because there our strength is we know exactly the processes. So our core product, like the out-of-the-box features, can be used from the go. Uh, there, when we look into our product, there are certain features that we have in our core product, which is like an inventory baseline. That is something we could also use, of course, for other customers that have similar needs on that area. But when we talk about the core functionality, like order fulfillment and things like that, this is really focused to customers in the area of life science R&D, mainly the drug discovery time before you go into the clinical stage or then in production. The main focus is really on the life science R&D aspect up front with the drug discovery. When we talk about hit to lead or hit identification stage, for instance, this is really the strength. But certain features could also be used later down the line, even down to production.
Going into a little bit more detail on the product itself, Florian, Xavo offers a core, pro, and enterprise solution. Could you explain to us a little bit more about what that ideal customer would look like and the industry that these packages might apply to?
So yeah, Xavo has a core product. That one is really about the inventory. So it's about making sure you can track your inventory, set up your own storages, create your own kind of hierarchies of containers, like what can fit inside a specific box or a container to make sure your data is accurate. And with that, it is like an entry level that you can use from the go to get away from an Excel spreadsheet, for example, or to make sure that you exactly know, generally speaking, where your material or where your containers are located. That is a very quick way to deploy the system. So that means we can make it available in, let's say, a few minutes even. And then it's only configuration to really be usable from the go. And that one, talking about perfect customers on that one, can literally be anyone who has an inventory requirement where there are certain needs of barcoded containers that need to be tracked. Of course, ideally in coming from life science, but this could also be applied to, let's say, any customer who has a similar need. Of course, the benefit on it, however, is that we can connect that also already to, for example, equipments like scanners or even to automated stores if needed. The next one is then the professional level. The professional level is then, it's all on the same platform, by the way, but it's then more functionality. It's then having the option of having orders or requests in the system. And these are then available, can be executed manually. So the can be tracked, the progress can be tracked, information can be tracked on it. And yeah, you basically have everything from requesting to find the right material for scientists who can browse through the inventory, creating the order, having a lab operators fulfilling them, and have everything traceable. That one is again also for therapeutics, biotechs, smaller biopharmas, always as a potential customer.
That's helpful to get a little bit more understanding of these core products.
Okay.
That being said, would you suggest then that Xavo offers something to customers that if you're a startup company and maybe you are just starting out on your compound management or sample management journey, you have an area where you can start small and then scale as you grow?
Precisely. Exactly. So the best thing is really if you start to always start with inventory in mind. If you start that with an afterthought, a year in or later, there will be problems that you created information that is no longer tracked anywhere. Information like where is your container now? How was it used? In which processes was it used? What is the history of it? This is information. If you only start a year later, you don't have it available anymore. You can try to use your Excel history to kind of go back in time to see it, but then it will most likely be too late. And if you start early with it, with a very cost-efficient entry, then you have it already, and then you can scale it up seamlessly because it's literally the same product where we just apply more features.
So let's talk a little bit more about Enterprise 2, which looks like it's your third package option.
Yes, exactly. So Enterprise is where the main value is really in our product. Actually, this is where we started with, and then we shrunk it down to this more entry-level product before. So with the Enterprise comes the complete process execution support, the complete automation, and the complete scheduling aspect of it. That means, what do we do there? There we calculate so you have like orders in the system. And I initially said, okay, you have a knowledge problem. So that means you get orders in, you have your available capacity, you have equipment available. And the question is now how to run your lab, how to drive it, how to drive the automation, how to drive the instruments. And here, this is where the enterprise package, where the feature that we have also as a standalone, is the logic of calculating what kind of equipment do you need, what operations do you need, what kind of liquid handler steps, for example, what kind of dilutions do you need to fulfill your orders in time. And this is then something where we can provide operators really a straightforward approach of helping from the very first picking of your sources through providing the samples on the right instrumentation, providing information down to droplet sizes of liquid handlers that need to run, till shipping labels and integration of other services, for example, where the resulting data needs to be pushed to for downstream assay execution, for instance. And their customers are typically also like big pharma or also CDMOs, CROs that are very much interested in that one because they have a lot of different orders, a lot of different formats. Every customer from them is its own project, so to say. And here, if you have one system that can calculate like all the different customers and you don't need to maintain all that one by one, this is where you can really make a difference.
Great. Okay, so expanding a bit more from these core standard packages, it looks like you offer some standalone modules as well, the Spider and the Pathfinder. Could you give me a little bit more of the what and why on these modules?
Of course. So the Spider or Lab Spider, first and foremost, it's a cool mascot name. But second of all, we created or had in the enterprise a functionality already that we have seen that customers could need, even though they don't want to completely introduce a new system in their architecture or in the solution landscape. So this is where we said, okay, let's extract that and provide it as a standalone feature. First of it, it's the Lab Spider. The Lab Spider had the idea of being an integration module. One of our strengths is that we are running in the cloud, but we are driving stuff in a physical lab. So how to do that and how to bring information from the cloud down to the lab and vice versa. So what we have there is an integration layer that can be basically connect to 2 different systems or multiple systems and do translation, parsing, and all the steps needed to get things running on the other side, using file approaches, using APIs, Telnet if needed still, all kinds of integration means, OPF, and other things that we have seen there, OPC it was. So things, all the technologies to actually get things running. And also talking about monitoring, talking about availability checks. Doesn't have to be a device, could be a service. And all that is basically a package that you can put in between your existing environment and your, let's say, services or equipment, and we do the heavy work of connecting them. That's the Lab Spider.
Okay.
The other side is the Pathfinder. That's something that is one of the core features of our enterprise module, where we have the order in the system, could be ours, could be another one, and there we look at the order, look at the digital representation of the lab, what we can do, and then we provide the operator the information how and when to best fulfill that. So we're looking at the equipment that's available, we look at available times of the equipment, and then we simply propose the best execution paths. By the way, all execution paths, we just recommend one, but basically all that are physically possible, we can provide. And then the operator can use that information to actually do the operations in maybe our or maybe another system. And that's the idea of the Pathfinder, that we support to put your existing environment also on a more throughput or on a better level by simply adding us to that existing landscape.
It's great that you have standalone modules to add to this workflow. Touching a little bit more on like modules and systems that can integrate, we know in sample labs that there is a wild difference between a startup who may be a little bit more manual to a large pharma who could be totally automated. Can you talk a little bit more about how Xavo would support growth in either types of labs and how integration plays a part?
So at the beginning, when we start with an entry level, we support all kinds of manual operations first. That means you can always upload result sets of data that you have done. Being it your custom spreadsheet that we can parse to our system, what kind of transfers you did, what kind of inventory updates you need to do. That's something we can support from the box, out of the box. Also like liquid handling steps, like single cherry picking, anything you do there, we can simply apply in our system. However, then when the need grows, let's say you add an automation, you add a first liquid handler, then our system can simply add that equipment in our system. So we simply create a new equipment, tell the system what it can do, like what kind of chips it supports, what kind of plates or tubes it can access, let's say. So like your 1,000 microliter tip doesn't fit in a single tube, things like that. So we define that. And then the next order that we have and the system calculates, it will automatically use then and propose the first liquid handler run for that. So it grows naturally. The system just adds with the requirements that you have for the new equipment that you buy, and then we scale with your lab.
Great. Continuing on this conversation of integration. So Xavo integrates with the acoustics, the echoacoustic liquid handlers. This kind of makes you stand out in the marketplace. Why did Xavo decide to invest the time in this particular integration?
Okay. So we have seen the Echo being used more and more in the market. So literally almost every of our customers has at least one Echo, if not more. And what we have seen is that there is a need for tapping into the functionality of the Echo and the capabilities that it has. So of course it comes with its own functional products like the cherry pick and dose response, but you need to connect that and the runs that it does to the big picture of the processes that you're doing. So even though, of course, you can maintain your huge list of all the possible work lists on these softwares, yes, but you need to put them in context of an order. Like, what is the assay that you need to do? Well, how needs the target plate to look like? What kind of input plate, or if you don't have acoustic tubes, what kind of input plate do you need to get that running? So, and if you can put that all in one system and know exactly what you need to achieve, then you can really help to put more throughput on the Echo by, for example, providing the perfect intermediate plates for that Echo or acoustic intermediate plates. Going even that far of calculating intermediate plates, like a secondary intermediate plate to achieve a 11-point dilution series where your first intermediate plate of your diluted compound wouldn't work. So that's one thing. Where our system, we go down to like 2.5 nanoliter droplet calculations to exactly know how much you really need to transfer, what you can transfer. And on the other side, also with the result set of it. So the equipment itself is awesome, but you need to get the data out of it again in your system without maintaining the same run, same work list in two systems in parallel. What you can do is you can just take the result set of it after we kind of tell them exactly what to do using these droplet instructions like single cherry picks. And then we update the inventory out of the result set. So we take the survey from the source plates, we take the transfer file that tells us what targets were done, and then automatically update the inventory, get everything traceable, get everything validated if there were exceptions, if any thresholds were off, because you never really are precise in every transfer. There are always little offsets. So the question is, until when do you define a transfer really successful and one not? That's something we can look into. And there is even way more, like the Echo, when you run a survey, it also tells you not only the volume level, it also tells you, for example, the DMSO percentage and way more things like that. And this is also very interesting, also for scientists, knowing the DMSO percentage of your samples that your sample management lab already knows. So you don't need to double check things, for instance. And this is, if you have all in one platform, we see that this is really a lot of value that we can bring to get more out of existing automation or instrumentation.
Right. So going on that path a little bit more, in addition to this, what else differentiates Xavo from potentially others on the market? Are there additional secret sauces to something that you've built in the software?
So I would say the thing that we try to do, or what we have done, is we didn't start with a inventory level and just say, let's just add another inventory in the field. But our idea was to be the driver of the system, like a lab execution system, to really know exactly what you need to do and tell the operator what he could do in the best way. Of course, having all options on the table, what he can do, but being a system that guides operators, not as an afterthought, like this is what you did, please upload it here, but really be in a driver's seat. And when you do that, you can and know exactly what the target is at the end. You can support every step along the way proactively. So we can pick the tubes in the exact right format for the right liquid handling later on to be very efficient. We can prepare then liquid handlers because we know exactly what the target needs to look like, what would be the ideal picking or cherry picking. Let's say I had a case where even a run was reduced from 3 hours down to 15 minutes because we were able to do 16 tips at a time across multiple plates on cherry picking. So if you know exactly what you're doing, you can really make a difference when you drive it, not when you just be a downstream system, but when you're someone who knows exactly what to execute, basically. That's really one thing. And the other side is whatever we have built is always, because we're trying to be supporting the operator, we try to build every screen, every feature with what do you want to accomplish at the end in mind. That means we're trying to show that information that you need at that point of time. It's not like one spreadsheet after another, but trying to be good in the user experience by really being spot on what you need on that specific moment. So we can provide the exact right content for the label that you need to print, exactly the right barcodes that you need at that time, to validate if these are correct at that point of time, to validate and then update also downstream systems that we can easily connect whenever something happens in our system. So these are things that we try to not have as an afterthought, but having everything on latest technologies right from the go.
So it sounds like you're providing the customers what they need, not what you think they need in the marketplace.
Exactly.
I wanted to go back just a little bit. And when you were talking about the packages from Xavo, you mentioned the component of out-of-the-box solution. And that seems to be a great differentiator as well. Mm-hmm. Since you offer this type of solution, do you have any success stories that you'd like to share around this out-of-the-box solution?
Well, the best one I would come to mind was a case where one customer that came to us said that they're having another system right now in place, and their SaaS term is running out by, I think it was end of February, beginning of March. And they said, okay, now they want to switch, but they have a hard due date because their system will be cut off. So they don't have access to their inventory and nothing. So data needs to be migrated. Things need to be in place that once their system goes off and ours goes on, it needs to work. So this was a very cool story, because there we had like a very strong, intense time, like 2 months, where we worked very closely also with the customer to get things completed and accomplished. And there we actually made it even down in 6 weeks to completely migrate the inventory, get the equipment integrated, get services integrated, get the user trained, and then going live. So that one was something where I would say I'm most proud of in my history, that we're able to really turn this around. But I have to also give credits to the customer, because in that case, the customer was really spot on and knowing exactly what's required, working very closely with us to make sure everything gets tested and validated. Of course, that's always a bi-directional support. But that one was, I would say, the best story that we did.
Great. Speaking a little bit more about customers in this marketplace, since Xavo supports high throughput screening, you have automated and AI capabilities. We've learned in our history that sometimes these can be hard to implement. There's some apprehension from customers in the field. Do you experience any of these challenges? If you do experience them, how does your team support folks going from maybe a more manual process and committing to these more automated AI futuristic components?
So yeah, there is often some people that are reluctant to it. That's for sure. The question is always, when you start a new project, who's really initiating it, right? Is it someone from the IT side, or is it someone from the business side? That's the first question that we have to check. Because if it's coming from IT, the question is always more about how can we integrate it? Is the data there? Do I get my processes there on a big picture on the IT side of things? But the operators are often more reluctant, because they were used with a way of working. And then often we just kind of mimic their processes before slowly guiding them to our way by showing them how it could have been done, how it would be faster if you go that path, but still supporting their way. For example, by uploading their result files with their previous runs that they did manually before. But then we kind of slowly show them also how it could work, and then get their interest. On the other side, if it comes from the business side, then often the operators come with a specific need, saying, okay, in this case, I have my certain processes. They didn't work. That's why they're looking for a new system. They didn't work because of a certain reason in their previous life, because their previous company that they worked with didn't provide that, let's say, or the experience wasn't good, or it couldn't achieve that whatsoever. And then there is a different field. Then we can really come in as more the innovator, coming with a new idea and new approach to things. And then it's often easier to kind of get people engaged. And then, yeah, it's really just showcasing and getting people excited.
I like that, getting people excited. So Xavo is currently focused in this compound sample management and lab operations space. Do you see any opportunities for this space or innovation over the next 3 to 5 years?
Absolutely. So right now we see innovation all over the place, especially when we talk about AI and LLMs and everything that's currently going around. That's certainly one of the main drivers, at least from my perspective, over the next years. I wouldn't see it now as the magic bullet for everything, to be fair. But I feel like there will be a big impact about how things are being researched, way more assays being done first completely virtually before they're actually being tested. But that also means that there will be still testing, but the quality of testing or the data that you will test will be pre-selected. And thereby you have less cases of these very high throughput screenings where you just throw thousands of compounds against the target. But the ones that you will test, they will be very promising. And there, I think that will be more of a shift towards that area.
Interesting. Speaking a little more big picture, over the last year, I'm sure you're aware that there's been some macroeconomic changes that have occurred, especially around the FDA. Tariffs have been rising. And as a global company, is this something that you are experiencing firsthand?
Yeah, of course we do. I think everyone in this world currently gets these economic challenges that are happening. We also see that from a lot of partners out in the field that also have challenging times of getting funding or getting to the next round, or how much of the next round will be made available. So that is certainly something we see from our customers, as well as then, of course, downstream also for us. On the other side, I think it's also giving us an opportunity because our system is, I would say, cost efficient. That means we have a very, very quick time to the return on invest. That means, especially right now, if people start to look more into saving, and we can really scale up and down very quickly. So, for example, one customer of us, they had to scale down, but they still stayed with us because we don't have to always get up. We can also remove it again, certain features, if there is no need. And thereby, I think it's opening up new conversations that we can have, even though, of course, it would be great if money wouldn't be the pressuring part.
That's an interesting take, though, that you said that there's a positive to it because there is this cost-effective component to Xavo's product, that instead of it being a detriment, these changes, it's actually helping the company to showcase how even in dark times, you're able to support customers to help them in this particular area. Speaking as a global company, there are sometimes areas we'd like to see different in the biotech market, sometimes procurement, the funding, the way that we adopt technologies. Is there anything that you see that you might change in the biotech space?
So there are certainly some things we can change, right? It's not only one. If I would need to choose the best one, at least from my perspective, is, of course, looking at the operation side of things, the sample operations, not as an afterthought. I see that many companies start with their own in-house tools, with an Excel spreadsheet, and they try to work with that one until it breaks down, until it's too late. And if it's a possibility to evaluate systems that are out there that you can roll out in a day, just to help you at the very first day and not when it's too late. I think that is something that people should really think about when they start as a smaller biotech or startup on that note. That is something I would change for sure. And don't even look at the payment terms of large biopharma companies.
I'm with you. I wanted to talk before we go today, so this will be my last set of questions, a little bit about looking into the future, maybe into 2026. You guys were at SLAS last year. I wanted to talk a little bit more about whether you guys will be at SLAS next year as well in Boston. And if so, what are some things that our audience can expect from you guys in February?
Right. Yeah, so we will be at the SLAS. I'll be again at the SLAS this year in Boston, or next year again in Boston. And so I guess we will always be there. And so what you can expect, first and foremost, the big topic of AI. I can give you a little teaser, because I was always personally, I love AI. I have in my LLM here for my home automation, and it's pretty cool. But I was always reluctant on looking what's really the problem that you can solve with it. And so now I think we have a very good point, not with just throwing an LLM at something, a large language model, but talking agentic AI, that we can really connect and use our system in a bigger scale of things, which I'll be very happy to show more and tease more than when it's time for the SLAS.
We'd like to thank our guest, Florian Tauchert, CEO of Xavo, for joining us on the Biotech Stack. For more information on Florian or Xavo, please check the links in our show notes below. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.